shrink that? Yep.
All right, Dave. Guess what? We're back on Viking Hot Takes.
Yes, we are.
It's just the two of us again. You know
Uh-huh.
why? Because we don't live in California, and someone else that hosts the show does. And it's 8:30 p.m. local time for us, but it's only 6:30 p.m. local time for Flip. So we are going to have Flip joining us very shortly, but we are going to filibuster a little bit. Um, so Dave and I we're going to catch up because we've been off for a few weeks, at least
We've been off too. Yeah.
yes. And we had Ryan fill in while I was traveling to London, so we'll talk about that a little bit. And then once Flips gets here, hopefully in the next about 10 minutes or so, we will kick off the show as normal. But until then, let's roll.
Yes, absolutely. Here comes the rolling. What's your take? What's your take? Let's go a Viking on Viking Hot Takes. And we're back, except for Eric isn't on this screen. There he is.
I'm here,
Bada
I
bing,
promise.
bada boom.
Look, yeah, I arrived.
And we're still waiting on Flip. Of course, Flip is in traffic. But first, I wanted to ask you, you went to England last week. Tell us about
I
that trip.
I did. I have been fortunate enough to attend the past three Vikings games in a row. Only one was really kind of planned. The Detroit game got kind of last minute, like the day before tickets from my wife's office. So when went and took my oldest daughter to that. That was her first regular season Vikings game. The next one was planned. We obviously went to London and caught that one. And then on Sunday, I think Sunday morning at about 10:30, I had a relative send me a text saying they couldn't go and wondering if I wanted two extra tickets. So I took my youngest daughter, so I got to take all three girls in my family on consecutive weeks. I think the three games probably took about three total weeks off of my life with how they all finished, but can't complain. It was 3 for 3. It was really cool to see a 3 game winning streak in person, especially across two continents. So
Oh, I'll
pretty great.
bet. Well, where did you stay in England? Did you stay in
So
a hotel or a B&B or what sort of deal?
well, we were lucky enough to have a couple of friends. One of my wife's best friends from college, her and her husband had just moved to Windsor, so like about 10, 15 miles west of the airport in London, so the west side of London. So we stayed with them most of the week. We took, since my wife was such a sweetheart and she let me do the soccer or the football and football double. We went to the West Ham game on Saturday. Before that, another win. So I'm on a roll for in-person victories for my teams. But before that, we went to for just an overnight trip to a place called Bourton on the Water in the Cotswolds,
Mm-hmm.
like probably about an hour and a half northwest of London,
I
and
know
that was
exactly
such.
where it's at. I was
It's a
stationed in R.F.
beautiful.
Fairford in the
Oh, okay.
Cotswolds. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so close by. I mean, that place was, it looked like it was out of a storybook. I kept on
Mm-hmm.
thinking that, hobbits were going to come out of a corner. Like, I mean, everything has the same kind of like small buildings with the same beautiful limestone, and it's really nice and quiet and touristy. It was a blast. So it was fun to do that, and then get the weekend full of sports in there as well. So it was
I'll bet.
another great trip and another great result.
I'll bet. I miss England. I would go back and visit in a heartbeat. Like I said, I was stationed there for 2 years and absolutely loved it. I've been all over England and I've been to Wales. Have not been to Scotland or Ireland. I'd love to go those places too. It's a beautiful, beautiful place to see. And if you like green, that place is green. Grass grows
Hmm.
better than anywhere on the planet that I'm aware of. And if it's standing still, it gets this green sort of moss stuff grows on it, and it's just green, green, green. It's a beautiful place. London is a fun city. It's lots of things to do. You can
Hmm.
see the sights, see the you know the Capitol buildings, Big Ben and Parliament. You can see Tower Bridge. You can see the tower. You can all sorts of stuff. Ride the tube, do things like that. Partake of fish and chips, and some fish and chips are better
Of
than other than
course.
fish and chips.
Yep.
And then, of course, what I always love to do is drink ales at the pubs because that was a blast.
Yes. The one thing I learned what is I think they're called the traditional ales, like with much
Yes,
less carbonation.
yes.
Not my personal favorites. Like when they say
Call
traditional
them
ales,
bitter.
it's yes, it's brewed in the old school way where
Mm-hmm.
if you're used to the light beer over here, that's it's a little bit different than that.
It's
Even
shocking.
the
Yes.
yes, and since Ted's here, I have to profess my love for the IPAs that he loves so much. But the IPAs are different there too. I mean, they
Yeah,
started the
I'll
kind of
bet.
the IPAs. They aren't nearly as hoppy. They're a little more. I mean, they're more kind of middle of the road, but they were still really good there too. And yeah, we got to do a lot of the touristy stuff in London. Not as much as the when we went 5 years ago because we stayed right there.
Uh
Hey,
huh.
look what we did! We filibustered long enough for Flip. I was just telling everyone
Y'all
about
waited
London.
for me.
Of
Wow.
course, yes. So
Oh, and those
we
bitter ales are usually kept warmer than what Americans are used to. Americans are used to beer coming out of a refrigerator, right, and being
yeah.
cold. And then you get a nice cold lager that's 35 degrees. It's just fantastic. Well, an ale, at least back when I was there, was kept in the basement. It was usually kept about 55 degrees. And they would literally draw it. When they take the handle on the pump,
Yes.
it wasn't CO2 pressured, it was a pump, like a water
Yes.
pump.
Like.
And they
Yep.
would pull the beer up out of the barrel into the glass, and I loved it. That's where I fell in love with good, thick beer. It was like drinking bread sometimes, but I fell in love with it, and it was wonderful.
Yeah.
Flip,
There were a
how's
couple.
traffic?
I'm not even thinking about it anymore. We got some hot takes to shed, and I don't have any hot takes about traffic. It sucks. Everybody knows that.
Yes.
That's not even a hot take.
Well,
All
everything's
right. Then
loaded
what
up
do you
whenever
say?
you guys want to
Okay.
start.
Which side of the rolling are we in?
We've already
We're
hit it.
just we already did the roll-in, so we can start that clock right away. We discussed
Oh,
I was lucky enough to go to the last three games. I think it took 3 weeks off my life, but it's been a fun ride. The Vikings are 4-1, not in a very conventional way, but I think we're ready to roll. What do you think, Flip?
I think that about 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, Eric told me, he said, if they beat the Eagles, I'm jumping all in with both feet. And then they lost to the Eagles, and then Eric went to all three games after that moment. So it sounded like you jumped in anyways.
Well, when tickets are there, I have to go. I mean, we were already planning the London trip, and I got kind of last minute tickets to the other two, and I'm not going to pass that up, especially when I live like 15, 20 minutes from the stadium. So yeah, and they're three. I got to bring all three girls of my family, one my oldest, then
Awesome.
my wife, then my youngest. So they're all good luck charms apparently. So we got to keep going, right? Time
Yeah,
to
we
go to
got to
Miami.
keep this good energy going. Dan's telling me I got to move out of California. So let's get the time on the clock. Dan, you tell me which state to move to, and let's move quick here because I got a Dodgers playoff game to watch.
All
All
right.
right, question number one, Eric. How much better can Kirk get?
Well, this is an interesting question because statistically, I think we've seen about as good as he can be, and that's good. That's his stats are always really good. I mean, that's never the argument. It's like, oh, he puts up terrible numbers. I mean, he's been a starter for a better part of a decade now, and he's usually right around at the end of the season. He starts every game almost, and he's usually right around 4,000 yards and about 30 touchdowns, and usually not a ton of interceptions, and it looks great. And I don't think that's ever been the problem. But there are still, I think, even the most ardent Kirk stands would agree that there are some things he can do better. But I think, especially last Sunday, I think we saw some of those. I think Ben Gessling had a really good article in the Strib about how Cousins seemed to take more control at the line of scrimmage and make some more checks and audible into different when he saw different looks at the line of scrimmage. And it was noticeable when I was there at the stadium too. I mean, the checks didn't work every single time. There was one where he audibled into an outside run that gained about a yard, and but like at the very least, my biggest concern about Kirk, I've always been kind of middle of the road about. I haven't been a hater. I haven't been someone that just blindly loves him. But my biggest problem is there's times where he can just. It feels like he's Ron Burgundy reading everything off the teleprompter. Like whatever's in front of him, he's going to do. Whatever the play call is, that's what he's going to execute. He's going to go through his progressions here, and here. And if anything goes wrong with that, it's all over. I think he did better with that. Even the interception that he threw, especially with his explanation post game, he with the two out to the flat, I think Vildor just made a good read on it because he basically explained how with the multi-level with the rollout pass, he had been going to the short pass fairly often, so he thought he'd kind of mix it up. Vildor just made a good read, but of course, then he did the grave mistake of mocking the skull chant. I mean, did he learn nothing from Sean Payton? You never mock the skull chant if there aren't zero if the game's still in the balance. But again, I know these Bears aren't the '85 Bears. This wasn't a juggernaut of a defense they were facing, but this is one of the first times, especially kind of felt it in the stadium, as bad as things were going after that 21-3 lead. I felt personally, I'm like when the Vikings had the ball, I'm like, I think they're going to go down and score, and you hope it's a touchdown and they don't have to settle for three because the way the defense was playing. But it was a unique feeling. I really think that he's starting to do some of those little things differently and being a little less easy to read. So and like Ray says, I think KOC is getting a lot more out of Kirk, and this is hopefully just the beginning because there are definitely some kinks to work out on both sides of the ball, and we'll touch on the other side of the ball. But I think he can. This is so far. This is kind of what we wanted to see. If he could, we said before the season, if he couldn't succeed under this system, and take that next step, when would he ever? And again, there's definitely things to clean up, but I think so far so good.
This is the best Kirk Cousins we're going to get. 17 for 17. Yards
Yeah,
per
that's pretty good.
attempt weren't off the chain, but again, he was changing plays out the line of scrimmage. He was getting to the right play, and then he was completing the pass, which is just wow for Kirk to do all those three things, all those three things consistently. It's the best we're ever going to get, and we can talk about the interception. Threw one this game, 5 interceptions this year versus 7 last year. He's got 5 already. But again, if Kirk keeps on playing like this, there's literally not much you can ask for. The thing I loved about this game more than just the completions were he was picking on the worst Bears secondary. He wasn't constantly throwing like against the Eagles where we were just constantly throwing against to Darius Slay. He was like, no, I'm going to pick the worst defender and throw towards him and pick on him. That's all I want him to do is find the worst DB and throw his way because I have faith in Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen. So well done, Kirk. We literally have nothing to criticize right now.
Right now, until they lose one game, and then we can go right back on it, right?
then we're right back in it.
Yes. All right.
right.
So my first question for you, this I think we can find some things to criticize here. Is the 3-4 defense working with the Vikings personnel?
You asked this question because it's not.
Mm-hmm.
I go player to player, and I think who is actually playing better in the system than they were last year. Because overall, the defense is not better, and overall, we have more talent this year than we did last year when you account for the injuries. So is Daniil Hunter standing up in a better position to succeed. No, not working. Is Eric Kendricks. No more mug look, no more confusion, no more vertical coverage from him. Maybe not no more, but less. No,
Right.
he's not in a better position to succeed. Harrison Smith out of the box. No, we want him down in the box, and he's a box safety. So no, it's not working right now, and it's just I think we're giving them a free pass because it's new and they have new personnel. But again, the talent is too good for this defense to be playing so poorly.
Yeah, it just seems like it isn't a great utilization of a lot of these player skills. And there's that one
Yeah.
3rd and 10 when the Bears were marching down to either make it 21-19 or actually take the lead. There was a crucial 3rd and 10, and both Zadarius Smith and Daniil Hunter dropped into coverage.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, that's not a good utilization of your player's strengths. And
Yeah.
Daniil Hunter, he's been way too quiet. He's still way too good of a player, and he's had some pressures. And the sack numbers, again, sacks are a byproduct of how the defense as a whole are playing. But there have been stretches, even in this Bears game against a really
Hmm.
lousy offensive line in Chicago, that Justin Fields had a lot of time. And again, like if he's getting pressure and he's making those schoolyard plays and he's rushing out of there, that's one thing. And same thing happened with Jalen Hurts a bunch of times too. You kind of just have to live with those, especially with the mobile quarterback. But there are times where, and it doesn't matter who the opposing quarterback is. If you give anyone plenty of time, I mean, Jared Goff,
Yeah.
up until most of that Detroit game, it was the same thing. You give them enough time, they are going to find someone open, and it's not like the secondary is a bunch of world beaters either. So it doesn't seem like a great fit. And again, 5 games in, you'd hope they can make adjustments. I just hope they make some in-game adjustments because I think the Bear.
Right.
I looked up at the scoreboard. I think halfway or late in the first half, and the Vikings had over 200 yards, and the Bears had 45, and everything seemed to be working. But then the Vikings just kept on showing the same looks to the Bears, and
Yeah.
eventually, even a team as offensively challenged as the Bears, it's going to figure it out and move the ball enough. And again, there's other things. It's not like the Bears put up 400 yards or anything, but it's been extremely frustrating to yes, he ain't Buddy Ryan, that's for sure. Maybe we should bring the 4-6 back. That's the
Would
offense
Daniil Hunter
the
have his
defense.
hand in the dirt in the 46 defense?
Yes, would he be just at
Yeah.
least attacking the quarter? Would Yes, put your players in the best
Yeah.
position to succeed, and I really don't think Donatel's defense has done that so far. All right, what do you got next? We're going over it on that, but I
All
knew
right.
that would be a big pain point.
No, hey, it's happening. Hold on. I can't see the question because the comments are so good right now. All right. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much trust do you have in Greg Joseph?
Okay, bad week for him, obviously. This past game. Overall, I'm still just fine with him. I mean, both of those field goal misses were over 50 yards. He got one was blocked, the other one is missed. Again, the only kicks, field goals at least, that he has missed so far this year have been over 50 yards. And unless you have Justin Tucker on your team, those are never a sure thing. You'd hope you'd get at least about half of them. And I think even after the the bad game on Sunday, I think he's still right around there. Special teams as a whole up until Sunday was pretty good. Like I think it was one of the strengths
Hmm.
of the team. I mean, especially the kick coverage and everything. And Joseph was coming off NFC's Special Teams Player of the Week from the Saints game. But yeah, I hope I'm going to chalk this last one up to just a bad week overall. I mean, it was just a clunker. I mean, even Ryan Wright with that 15-yard punt, and I think it was actually negative yardage after the penalty. It gave the Bears a touchdown right before halftime. I think overall they'll be fine. I think it was just one of those clunkers of a game. So overall, you told me to say 1 to 10. I'll give it about an 8 still. I think we're just fine with him. It could be way worse. You see all these teams playing kicker roulette. I think Detroit just literally picked up their 3rd or 4th kicker of the season today. The Chiefs have had all sorts of problems. I know even the undefeated Eagles have been shuffling kickers. So it could be way worse. There are that defense, the 3-4 defense is a way bigger concern for me than Greg Joseph right now. If a couple more games go like this and it ends up costing the Vikings, that might be a different story. But overall, especially with the long and storied history of kicker pain, we could be doing way worse right now. So I'll still give it about an 8. What do you got it at?
It's too much trust. And that's why I worded the question this way, because it's simply whether you think he's a good kicker or not, whether you think he's consistent, if you're lining up at between the 35 to 45 yard line and you have to pick between punting, going for it, or kicking the long field goal, Greg Joseph is the last option. Punt the ball. He's not making the kicks. He's 1 for 5
Oh, no,
from 50
don't punt.
yards
Don't
out.
punt it from the 35. Go for it, even
Okay,
less. It's like fourth and 20. But yeah,
then go for it. But to trot him out there expecting him to make the kick is too much trust, and they've done it so often that he's now tied for 29th in field goal percentage. It's just not who he is.
that's fine. It might be. Well, look at the Gary Anderson year. I don't even think he attempted anything over 50. Up too soon,
Exactly.
98. But like, okay, then know what you know what you have then, because he's perfect.
Know what
But
you
he
have.
okay, he's 1 for 5 over 50. Okay, so he's not even close to 50% over there. But yeah, he's 8 for 12 overall. But all four of the misses have been over 50. I still can personally live with that because that's anything over the 50. You should probably be going for it. If it's all the analytics, all those fourth down bots will tell you to go for it anyway. So I'm still okay with it. But yeah, it's not perfect either.
All right, let's go to the next question.
All right, my next one for you is, which player has been the most pleasant surprise through the first 5 games for the Vikings?
Oh, and so you said player here, which is tough because, the Vikings, I don't think their play has been surprising. I think their overall record is surprising.
Hmm.
So I think the wins have been the most surprising part, honestly.
Sure.
Like the fact that we're 4-1, we haven't had a meltdown game, we haven't had an oh shit
Well,
game.
they
Uh,
they've had 3 shit games in a row, but they won them all. They
but they,
you're exactly right though, because this year they aren't grasping defeat from the jaws of victory. That Saints game, I
yes,
sat there most of the fourth quarter and I'm like, oh no, we're gonna do this in a different country. We're gonna see that but yeah, they're winning the games. I think that's a totally fair take there.
yeah, but player, I'm not going to say anybody on the defense. It's going to be a pretty boring answer. It's probably going to be like a Garrett Bradbury or a
Sure.
Christian Darrisaw. Those have been nice surprises. I still think there are issues on the offensive line when they go up against some better talent. But yes, it is very nice to see the offensive line move in the right direction. What
Yeah,
do you
to
think?
see, yeah, offensive line for sure. That's what I had jotted down. Bradbury being a pleasant surprise in the fact that he isn't a complete dumpster fire. Again, he hasn't gone against the best competition, and I think the Pro Football Focus grades from Sunday against Chicago. I've made the joke like, thank you Akeem Hicks for going to Tampa Bay, because that's why the Vikings had such good grades across the board. And Darisaw we knew was good. Like that's not a
Yeah.
surprise. That fact that he's been this good, one of the top tackles in the league. I mean, he had some pancakes. I mean, he had some. It's hard to get multiple highlight plays from a left tackle, but he had that against the Bears. I mean, he absolutely flattened Robert Quinn a couple
Mhm.
times.
Mhm.
That was amazing. If I had to pick someone on defense, I think overall Cam Dantzler's play has been better than expected. I think getting a
Mhm.
consistent chance this year, and it's not just the strip at the end. Of course, that's a great game sealing play. It's the you show that to kids and say, this is why you don't give up, because he got absolutely smoked by Smith Marset on that juke. But uh, but overall, he has done really well in coverage. I think he's been a pleasant surprise when the rest of the defense has been kind of taking it. I think they're 28th in DVOA right now after 5 games. That's not an ideal place to be. But yeah, just the offensive line as a
Mhm.
whole. I think the consistency there, knock on wood, they haven't had any injuries there yet. That has made a really big difference for the offense, especially in these games where Cousins has had to, even when you think that he probably didn't, he shouldn't have to be having these game-winning drives. The offensive line gives you that opportunity, because we've seen it where in previous seasons where Cousins is trying to lead a
Yeah.
game-winning drive and it just blows up in his face right away. So
Yeah.
offensive line is definitely the highlight for me.
All right. Yeah. We agree on that one. Let's go to the last two questions first. Eric, who will lead the NFC North after 10 weeks? We know who leads it after 5 weeks, but who will lead it
Hmm.
after 10 weeks?
Good question. I did take a peek at the schedule just before this,
Okay.
and just to make sure. So there will be a half game difference because the Packers don't take their bye until after week 10, and the Vikings obviously
Right.
have theirs after this week. So I think the
Hmm.
Vikings should still have it. It might be a half game either way, but I think the Vikings should have about a half game lead just because, you know, if they are, they can't be tied after 10 weeks, but the Vikings have the divisional lead and would have any tiebreakers, if once they do even out. I looked at the schedule. They both have two similar games or the same
Yep.
games at Washington and at Buffalo. I think the Vikings are at Buffalo in Week 10.
Yep.
I
Hmm.
I anticipate both of the Packers and Vikings having very hard time there. I would probably chalk those up as the way that the Bills are playing right now. You never know. Uh, a month from now, that would be a really tough game to win. Um, the Miami game this week looked really a lot more formidable about 3 weeks ago when the
Right.
Dolphins were just coming out off of beating the aforementioned Bills. Now we're not really sure who the backup quarterback is going to be, whether it's Bridgewater or the new guy. Of course, you throw in the backup quarterback thing against the Vikings, and it almost
Yeah.
came to fruition with Dalton again in London. But so I think overall, like Paul Allen tweeted it out, he's if they can take care of business in Miami, come off the bye, and beat a dangerous at times but very flawed Arizona team coming off the bye at home, that's 7-1. That's no longer the exact halfway, but the unofficial halfway point of the season. That's going to be a nice mark to beat. And the Packers, especially, they let a team hang around in London and they did not finish it. They had what we were fearing against New Orleans. So they have
Hmm.
a lot to answer to. So like again, the Packers, I think they're as long as Rodgers is there, they're going to be around. I don't think the Vikings are. We don't have any illusions of them running away with the division. But I think in 5 weeks, just with how the schedule is rolled out, unless the Vikings start losing some of these games, and again, if they keep letting every single team hang around like this, they're probably going to lose one or two. But if they can keep on making incremental improvements, I think they should be leading the division. Do you think they're there, or do you think the Packers overtake them, or maybe the Bears or the Lions?
Yeah.
Okay, not the Lions. They'll never do it. But
I did not look at the Bears or the Lions when
yeah,
asking this
nor did I.
question or trying to answer it. Nor did you. If you're in the comments, encourage you to look at the schedule for both the Vikings and the Packers as well, because this is the main rival in the NFC North as far as the NFC North is concerned. It's a team that we played in Week 1, and then we're not going to play them again to Week 16. So this might be the only opportunity to get to actually ask ourselves how we measure up with this team is some of these common opponents. We play Washington and Buffalo, like Eric said. We play Dallas, and then in week 11, Green Bay plays Dallas as well. So I think that's the only way to kind of gauge where we are compared to the Cowboys is how they match up against some similar teams we're playing. But yeah, the Vikings should win the next three. We should be 7-1, and then we'll see what happens against the Bills and Cowboys.
Right. I think that's
Yeah.
going to be some big tests, and that's the nice
Hmm.
part about with the schedule matching up with the Packers. The home and away matches up, except for of course the divisional, the two games that are different. So my last
Yeah.
question, we got a minute and a half left. I think we've touched on this a little bit already, but just to figure out what is the biggest concern for the Vikings going forward.
I'm going to go past this season. I'm going to go just in general. These rookie injuries suck. And I'm it really grinds me to watch other games and see other rookies just even on the field, not even like Sauce Gardner and Brees Hall just up for rookie of the year, but
Right?
like even Kyle Hamilton for the Ravens, he's just on the field. And we do have Ed Ingram, so I can't be too upset about that. We did see Brian Asamoah start to get some snaps, but
I
it's
think we'll
just
see more of
so
that too.
frustrating when you know that Pat Peterson, his time is limited. We got Cam Bynum and Harrison Smith might have two safeties we need to replace to just have nothing from the rookie class on the defensive side of the ball. I'm concerned about injuries in the short term, and I'm concerned just about how they rebuild that defense in the long term. How about you?
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, I feel so bad for Lewis Cine because it's,
Yeah,
again, and all these injuries on special teams as well. That's how Chandler
yeah.
broke his thumb, and he's out for at least the next 4 games. That is tough. And again, I think we already covered the
Mm-hmm.
defense. That's the immediate concern. They have to make some changes there, show some different looks at least. And but yeah, it is true. Like building the team going forward when all these players aren't playing, it's tough.
That's it. On time. Well, not on time because I was a little late. But we finished the questions on time. Thank you all for bearing with me. Dave, you'll have to update the crew on what's next. We got Miami in Miami to try to get to 5-1, and we'll see what happens. It's Tuesday. I'm not going to do a score prediction yet.
Well, it's Tuesday. That means tomorrow's Wednesday, and we have Vikings happy hour at 8 o'clock tomorrow night. Miles Gorham is back. We've got a full crew. We're going to be talking, going over a few hot items and changing up the format just a wee bit. We'll ask you if you like it or not. And then Saturday, you get myself and Darren Campbell, your two old bloggers, been doing this for over 2 decades apiece each. And we're going to comment and break down the game against those Miami Dolphins, and maybe we'll know which quarterback's playing for the Dolphins. My question is to you, it's an away game. Traditionally, away games, Vikings wear white. But we're going to Miami. Miami, a lot of times, likes to have it where they wear white and their opponents wear their dark uniforms. Are the Vikings going to be wearing purple again on Sunday?
That would be 5 out of 6 games wearing purple. Yeah, I would assume so.
Yep. And on Sunday, it looks like 83 degrees in Miami, so I would bet that they will be.
Mm-hmm. And so far, they're undefeated in purple, by the way.
Yes, this year they are.
This year, yes.
And they are winless in white. So.
Yes. So we'll see.
Just like the Rams, right?
Yeah. Hey, I'm telling you, the Rams, you gotta believe in that bone every time.
Every time the Rams are losing in the DMs, Flip's like, look, they should have wore their bone jerseys. I love it. Yes.
Anyways, guys, it's been a great night, great show. And what do we say?
Till next time, Skol Vikes.
Skol. Thanks, everyone.
Skol Vikings.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, and ring the bell, and rate us on your favorite aggregator. And a special shout out goes to our partners, the Daily Norseman, where the best Vikings content can be found, and to Lake Monster Brewing, home of the best beer in Minnesota. Skol, everybody.